So hi everyone and welcome to our 5th edition podcast on the conversations at the Kaya. My name is Elizabeth Oro and today I'm joined
Leslie Graneza.
Yes. So thank you so much. This afternoon, we want to have conversations just around what is very close to everyone's heart. And I know maybe just to start asking from Leslie, how often do you cook in your house?
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
I know there has been so many changes with the schedules that people are running. People have been doing a lot of batch cooking. So you'd find like most of us would probably prefer cooking over the weekend.
Yeah.
But then you have your food just heated in the course of the week in preparation for whatever it is that you're doing. Maybe you're planning for work and kids and family and all that.
True. I think I also mainly do, I live with my family, so I do batch cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's nicer when the food is fresh.
I know.
Every now and then during the week,
Yeah.
we'll get to cooking still.
Yeah, sure. So maybe we just want to start and probably delve into understanding why do you think electric cooking has stayed a niche in Africa?
There's power reliability.
Yeah.
So in as much as we have electric cooking as a conversation that is being picked up all over the world, specifically in Africa, across all of our countries, we still struggle with reliability of power. And now the issue with that is you don't want to start cooking your beans and midway through this power outage. And now you have to figure out how to have electric. Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if you are a mother, you have children that are waiting on you to eat, or I don't know. So there's reliability of power that still is an issue in as much as e-cooking is becoming an issue in Africa. We still have a couple of challenges. There's the very high, not very high, but somewhat high upfront cost of the appliance.
Sure.
It's not every household that is able to afford some of these appliances. They can be pricey, especially if you're comparing to, say, charcoal that they buy on a daily basis. So it's little money. It's expensive, but yeah, little money every single day.
It's a cumulative figure at the end of the day.
Yeah. So there's that. There's also what else? I would say not sufficient awareness. Kenya, we're blessed to have some of these programs, this Pick and Power, that have increased the awareness of electric cooking throughout the country, not just in the capital city. So that has been great, but there's also very limited awareness across a lot of these countries as to what you can do with these cooking appliances, especially since our menus are very, let me say, African.
Yes, African.
Yeah.
I think maybe to add on to that, I would say maybe behavior change is one area that's I think we haven't driven so much on in terms of just investing on conversations and awareness programs, as you're saying, because I think there's a lot of perception on e-cooking that most people would peg it with cost.
Yeah.
And most people would probably say that e-cooking is expensive. So maybe just having awareness programs that sort of try to break down and get people to understand how it really works and how it is a benefit to homes if they were to adopt. So the transition is happening, but I think adoption is where the problem is. And because I think most of our households, you'd say you'd buy the EPCs, say for example, examples of e-cooking products or solutions would be like the electric pressure cookers, the induction cookers, the rice cookers and the likes. So most households would buy, but now we draw the line when it comes to using it because you're probably considering how much am I going to spend to cook the food. So I think that is something that probably also needs to be addressed.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Maybe even as you speak of these technologies, which are the ones that you see, you've been in the space for some time, show the most promise? What technologies do you feel people are more driven towards adopting?
Yeah. So I think if you're looking at the African context, the one reality that's happens in our homes is that we do a lot of fuel stacking.
Yeah.
So say for example, you've got a charcoal stove. Yes, you're doing aromas. You have
got maybe an EPC.
You have an induction cooker on the other space, and I think largely is because of the setup that we have in our homes, and also going by the fact that most of us love hosting. I think we come from homes where there's a lot of hosting. I think that is sort of getting driven out, especially as generations keep changing. But if I take it from the times of our mothers, there was a lot of hosting that was happening. So having different sources where you can cook makes it easier for you if you're hosting a good number of people.
Otherwise, you'll be cooking for the entire day.
Yes, you have to cook for the entire day because, again, our meals takes a lot of time to cook. But if I look at the influence that some of the electric solutions that are in the markets, I'll probably pick on the electric pressure cooker. The reason I would pick on the electric pressure cooker is because it's like when you're going to a mall. When you're going to a mall, it works for most of us because it's one-stop shop. If I want to go get my makeup, it's there. If I want to go to the supermarket, it's just around the corner. There are banking halls and all that. So it cuts on the travel time that you would spend otherwise if you have to visit all these places in different timings. So if you're using an electric pressure cooker, I find it a product that is well embraced because of the solutions that it offers. I would look at certain solutions like, say, a rice cooker. If I have an electric pressure cooker, I can still do my rice in there. I can still make my yogurts on an electric pressure cooker. And also looking at
your own yogurt?
Yes, you can.
Nice.
Yes, you can. I think we need to do some content around that, but you can do your yogurt on that. You can bake your cake on it. So if you don't have an oven, then it's not a worry. And then looking at the fact that when you're using the electric pressure cooker, you're also looking at the time that gets compressed that you'd otherwise spend if you're using biomass, if you're using charcoal, for instance. If you were to take a sample food of githeri, because that's our staple in Kenya, and if you were to do it on probably a jiko, you'd spend, say, about 1 hour, 45 minutes thereabout to have it ready. And this would also have taken a journey of either you soaked your beans. Lighting the jiko is not funny at all. It's a journey on its own, and then have the food get ready. So the cumulative time would spend compared to just washing your beans and your maize and putting it on the pressure cooker, it's a plug and play. And under 30 minutes, you have your food ready. So I feel like it gives us the different things that you're looking for. If you want to bake, it's there. If you're looking to compress time, it's there. If you're looking at affordability, it also carries that, because if you look at the spend you'd incur in cooking githeri, for instance, on a jiko, you'd spend anything between 100 shillings to, say, 150, thereabout. Yeah, if you were to use an EPC, we are bringing it down to something around 27 shillings. And that, I think, can be practically saying if we are to work with the meters, so then you see how it works, how it picks heat. And again, the pressure cookers just develops it. One, the heat is there, then it cuts the use of the consumption of power. Whatever is there, then now can be used to make your food. So I feel like electric pressure cooker would be a pick for me. But I know there are other solutions that are out there in the market. You'd make reference to an induction cooker, which is slowly generally gaining momentum. You'd want to look at stuff like the air fryers and all these other solutions that are currently in the market. But I feel like when you have the EPC, you have a one house sort of solution for all the households.
Yeah.
Thank
you for that. But I'm wondering, yes, we've spoken about households and what are the options that we have out there, the EPCs, the induction cookers. There's plenty on the market. But I'm wondering for schools, institutions, hospitals, I don't know, that want to transition. Do we only have the EPC? I know Ignis has been working on other technologies as well, and a lot of market research
going into it.
Yeah. Is it just the EPC that we have, or what are other affordable?
So basically what we do at Ignis is we innovate. And we're innovating kitchen appliances. And the way we've segmented that is that we are able to do institutions and households. So what I spoke about is basically covering on households. But if we come to the institutional side, then you realize that there's a lot of costs that goes into cooking in most of our institutions. If you go to schools, if you go to prisons, you go to hospitals and such like, you realize that a high costs is placed on fuel, and most of them would probably be using firewood. But if you look at the cumulative amount they spend, again, it's high. And that has been a problem because over a very long period of time, we've not been able to introduce products that would solve the problem for them in terms of accessibility, affordability, and just awareness creation of other solutions that are in the space. So what Ignis has done basically is that we are coming up with steam-based kind of solutions, which could either use electricity or LPG, or you could get a hybrid model that uses either. And the pressure cooker, as you'd use it on the steam-based solution, is to heat water, and then the heat sort of generates steam. So that steam gives the same function as you would get on the pressure cooker. Steam is built, and then that is what is transferred to the different vessels through which you're making your food. Helps a lot in terms of time management, because steam is fast once the pressure has been built. And then secondly, it also helps on cost reduction, because then the amount you'd use on firewood gets highly reduced if you now compare it to the conversions you would on electricity consumption. And again, like I said, once the steam has been built, it cuts on consumption. So it just make use of whatever it is that has been generated. And then looking at it also in terms of waste, most of the foods that you cook with firewood gets burnt. Steam doesn't burn food. So if you look at the amount of food that is thrown in most of these institutions, it's a lot. It could be in kilos. So at the end of the day, you are not just incurring costs on the fuel, but you're also incurring high costs on food waste. So some of the solutions that you're bringing in as Ignis should be able to capture some of that problem and give it a solution to help institutions not just cook for the sake of cooking, but cook to save on their money and have the monies can be channeled to do other things that would be on developmental issues, especially if you go to schools, you want a laboratory, you want dormitories and such like things. So yes, to answer your question, we have solutions that would also cater for institutions and spaces where a large amount of food is cooked. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So maybe as I was responding to that, maybe just to understand in terms of pricing and tariffs, how do you look that? What do you think needs to change to help adoption? Because initially when you made your opening statement, there was a concern of pricing and cost that sort of slows down adoption.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the main would be upfront costs of these appliances. Not even actually just for the residential, but even for institutions, which is still high, depending, of course, on the income levels and all. So I'm thinking we've been also doing quite a number of studies and research on electric cooking, advancing electric cooking, mainly looking at it as a way to save the environment, but also as a way to increase demand for our utilities, a utility that is making more revenues from their sale of electricity is able to invest in access, which we still complain is an issue, a big issue in Africa, electricity access, and at the same time while reducing the cost of cooking for households. So it's a win-win situation. But coming back on the upfront costs, I believe definitely top of mind would be reducing the cost of these appliances. That can be done through subsidies, incentives that we would be giving these homes. That can be tough because we've got to find a source for that funding to be able to incentivize. Can all come from the government. So there's philanthropies that pitch in. There's other finance institutions that chip in as well. So for the upfront cost itself to be lower, there's a lot that can be done. We still are incurring taxes in some of our African countries on importing the electric cooking appliances, and that just hikes up the cost of the appliance. So maybe even actually, as we speak of adoption, in the initial stage, VAT and all of these taxes can be reduced, these levies. And once people now start adopting the appliances and they've seen the benefits, they've been able to do the comparisons between whatever method they had before, whether it's charcoal, wood, or what it is that they were using, and now the electric cooking appliance, whichever it is that they would have been able to afford, that definitely hikes adoption. And then later on, just so we can we can be able to continue getting now these taxes still in the country. We can see how to work around that. I would say still on the pricing issue, there's affordable ways of financing these appliances. True, we have some of our countries, meaning Kenya, pay-go systems where you can pay slowly. You can take a loan.
Yep.
We all know the interest rates.
Yeah.
There's on-bill financing that has recently been launched in Tanzania, where for every new connection, the utility gives you an appliance and you're able to pay back slowly through your monthly bill. The utility incurs or rather it bears the risk, but we are increasing adoption and we are increasing the demand also to make use of the renewable energy potential that we have, or surplus even, because there has been a lot of curtailment even from the electrical side of things. So yeah, I've spoken of pay-go, on-bill financing, loans. There's SACCOs that can help. I think those are closer to home, if area there, and most likely, or the lifetime cost of the appliance is much lower as opposed to getting a loan with a high interest.
Yeah, sure.
But there's other ones as well. There's result-based financing, simply with the goal of not reducing the appliance cost, because even in those cases, the appliance is still costly, but managing our cash flows even at a household or an institutional level. And from the tariff front, we recently did an electric cooking readiness assessment at Base, in partnership with Vast Carbon and Cash Advisory in Burundi. And one of our findings was that their tariff system is that after 150 kilowatt hour, you quickly, there's a lifeline tariff, which is low. There's the residential tariff. But if you pass 150 kilowatt hour, you jump into the commercial tariff. And this isn't an industry. This is it's a household business. It's a household. We have regular incomes. And so if we are going to enable to help households to overcome the fear of a high tariff. I think you spoke about it in the beginning. We need to have lower tariff or an increased range of a lifeline tariff. Because if you look at the kind of appliances that are there even on the market in Burundi, they are the demand is high, the capacity, the power rating rather is high. And that means that very easily at the end of the month, you've passed 150 kilowatt hour. And in as much as it might have been cheaper than your regular charcoal, you're now having to pay like you're running a business in a household. Yeah. So I would say those are...
Which I think then becomes a turn-off in terms of transition.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, great.
I had a question for you. You've spoken a lot about cooking behavior. Given that we have African homes and all the hosting, it's actually not even just hosting. Our own families are big. For you to cook a meal for the entire family of 6-7 people, that requires a lot of time. Yeah, right. So what is it that maybe we underestimate, among the behaviors, the community behaviors, the African behaviors that really impact that transition that might have not been considering? Yes, we speak about awareness and all, but it isn't just awareness. What else do we need to consider as one of those
influences
that we consider and be able to provide solutions that answer to those as well?
Wow, interesting that you ask that, because I think the one thing that is true is that cooking is cultural. And I know from where you come and where you come, it's totally different.
Close
though, yeah, because we're all Africans, yeah. There is some similarity, but then there is the granular kind of detail or of fineness that every culture pegs on their cooking.
Yeah.
safe to say that most of our foods requires high heat. Yeah. Githeri, you know, beans and fufu, all these things, you know, requires high heat. And I think unless we get to a place where we are able to debunk that it's efficiency that would make your food done well, then we're still going to struggle with some of these things. One thing that I know, if my grandma was here and I would give her an electric pressure cooker to even make tea on, because you can make tea on an electric pressure cooker or even on an induction cooker, you realize the taste is a bit different from when you're cooking on firewood. And that is the kind of taste thing that Africans would be looking at when you're transitioning me from this to this. You're probably moving me away from the tastes that I have been used to, what I feel is natural, and what you're giving me, probably that doesn't bring out that taste. So
even a sufuria that we use for making tea,
it's just for tea.
Not at all the same one that you use to make rice or beans or whatever.
For ugali is different, like it's so very much clear at home. Like
now you have this one EPC.
Yes,
you know?
that has to do all these things. So I feel like the cultural kind of mindset is something that we really need to work on, that I think has not been captured. Because again, we are so much used to seeing that the food is cooking, I can see fire. So I know the food is cooking. And like when you say electricity is so abstract, you can really not touch it. You can't tell that there is an activity happening there. And unless when you try to open it, because now it's locked, the pressure cooker is locked, you cannot open. If you're talking about induction cooker, unless you lift it, then you're able to see the redness of the plate. But otherwise, you're really not able to tell that there's an activity going there. So there's a mindset that you have of how food should be done, the familiarity that we have with how we cook, that I need to see fire to know that food is cooking. And I remember growing up, you would know your mom is cooking if you go to the kitchen and see that there's some fire somewhere.
And smell.
And you can smell, and you can also tell that there is some cooking activity. So I think that would be one thing in terms of we need to build trust and familiarity. So if people are used to seeing fire to know that there is cooking, what are we doing with all these innovations to get people to a space where I am transitioning you but safely? So then you know that it's electricity as it's abstract, but the result you get is more or less what you'd get if you're using firewood. When talking about the taste acquired, how do we work on the taste to get people to readily transition? Because I know most people, as much as I've transitioned, especially in Kenya, most people would hardly make their chapatis on LPG. Chapatis goes to the jiko, you understand? But now how do we tell our messaging, or how do we make our innovation in the kind that those kind of concerns are catered for, that, you know, culturally, the product is a fit. In terms of your trust, it's a fit. And then, of course, over the period of time that there has been innovation, there has been failures and trials. So there is that fear of adoption as well, because what if it fails? Because that has happened. There are records to it. Where do I go to? Because again, from the array of products that are in the market, we still don't get someone we can go to when you want the after-sale services, which is what Ignis is doing differently, because I know what you're doing is you're also setting hubs where you are able to bring your products in the event that there is any kind of problem. We are also having a very serious after-sales team where we are able to communicate with our end users. At times you think the product has a problem, but it's actually a user problem. So just trying to understand what blockers they're experiencing, walking them through how to use the product. So then it's a little bit easier and more structured for them in terms of adopting the product. Because like I said before, when you're talking about transitioning, let's not stop at transitioning. Can you also go to as far as adopting? Because I could buy it, I've made you happy, but am I using it? Are you able to collect data on my performance? Because then that is now what informs the regulations and the policy makings that we require to even go into the discussions and conversations of tariff, as you are saying. Again, the tariffs that you're making reference to, those are some of the things that I think culturally we have a perception that cooking with electricity is expensive. So how do we debunk that? I feel like it's time that we become very much honest to the end user and pour it out. Let's break it down in languages that they can understand. Let's give them the kind of knowledge that would help them not just buy the product, but transition. Let's give them the knowledge that would also be helpful for them to understand that, okay, if I use firewood, I get this acquired taste. But then there are other health implications that comes with that, because as you're inhaling the smoke, your lungs get affected. Then that's how we are recording a good number of sicknesses. Your eyes are experiencing problems. So there are other ways, I think, that we can build on the understanding and the acceptance of the solutions and of the innovations to the end users. But I believe it should be tied to awareness creation.
Yeah. And I think even as you speak of that, if at the end of the day, even if I buy an appliance, you as a supplier, you've won, you've gotten an additional sale. But if I'm not using it, it doesn't help me because I'm still using the old methods. But also, we have this huge opportunity of exploring carbon financing as one of those methods that can help us reduce the upfront cost of these appliances, and they're more affordable to us. So if I have not been using that appliance, it means there are no credits that we're able to get from this. And it means now that alternative financing mechanism, we can't make the most of it. We can't take advantage of it. So yeah, definitely.
I feel like the carbon conversation is very huge. And I feel like, sadly, the masses are not being educated and are not in the know of how it works when it comes to carbon financing. And so sort of slows down the adoption. If we are getting to a place where we are even rewarding the use of electricity via the carbon financing, then I think it's a subject that we really need to explore. And I believe that even looking at what's happening in the market, we are having people in the sector closing down because of some of these problems. So yeah, I believe the carbon financing is also an aspect that we need to explore to just get to a space of where people can actually trust that the transition actually makes sense to them. And maybe as you're winding up, because I know time is really not on our side, this was an interesting conversation. I'm just learning. So maybe what gives confidence that clean cooking can actually scale? Because it is one thing to desire transition, but then there is a pilot stage where you're starting. And I feel like Kenya, we are still at the very pilot stage, because if we look at the penetration of what we've been able to achieve in terms of e-cooking, I think we'll be talking about 3% of the 75% grid spread that is in the country. So we still have about 72% to be able to reach. What confidence do we have in terms of scale?
I will start with the awareness that has been increased. Kenya is a particular case because the awareness is much higher. But even...
So this is a comparison to other African countries?
Yeah, definitely. But even in other African countries, I think not just actually the urban areas, even our rural areas are aware of the fact that you can cook with electricity. Maybe the appliance isn't available to them, but they are aware of that. We've gone through modern cook stoves, and I think that is already a transition step
to itself.
Because they know that previously I was using a jiko, and now I've moved to a modern cook stove and I've seen the advantages. What if now this electric cooking appliance is also feasible for me, even as an old mama in the rural areas? I would say there's increased access of electricity. There's so many projects that are ongoing in Africa on expanding access to electricity. What's even beautiful about it is that we have still a huge renewable energy potential, and we've been exploring these solar farms, these wind power plants. We've been increasing our hydro exploitation, geothermal as well, and these are more affordable power sources as opposed to the thermal. And that not only does it mean that we are increasing access, so even in the outskirts of our countries, you're able to provide these appliances there, and they will have confidence that I have electricity I've been having for this amount of time. I can actually explore electric cooking, but also it means that our tariffs can be lower. If you're not using expensive power sources, it means that we are getting better tariffs. I would say what else gives me confidence?
Would you want to touch probably on policies and regulations?
Even policies. We've got an electric cooking strategy in Kenya, and there's so many strategies and policies that are being drafted in our countries that have increased now even the government appetite, the utility appetite. We've got different stakeholders pitching in who are literally working towards ensuring our households transition to cleaner cooking sources, specifically electric cooking as well. There's also the technologies that are more available on the market. Let me just say actually a wider range of technologies. Market segmentation. If I'm going to a shop to buy an EPC, I am not restricted to the 25K one. There is probably a 10,000 appliance that is there on the market, 12K, that might not be the top quality, but still enables me to cook just as well my meals in a shorter period of time. So yeah, there's the wider range of appliances that we have. And I would say what still worries me is the issue of tariff, like I mentioned. There's also reliability of that power. In some of our countries, we've had to go to the mini grid level, meaning maybe the utility is unable, the grid can't be extended that far, but there's a mini grid that's available. But these are usually just for basic needs, lighting up your bulbs, maybe a TV, charging and all that. And the electric infrastructure might not necessarily be able to accommodate a 1.5, 3 kilowatts appliance that you might be wanting to plug in. So yeah, there's the infrastructure that still needs upgrade. And there's also relatively slowed adoption. Like you've mentioned, we less than 3%.
The penetration is quite on the low.
We've got 75% who's already connected
To the grid, yeah.
The adoption is still slow. I believe that will change in the coming years. But yeah, there's that as well. Where there's anything that you feel like is still a hindrance?
No, I think the important thing to note is that I think I'm happy right now that the government has jumped in and is actually taking this seriously. There are conversations around the cooking tariff that I know are taking place.
Right.
And probably in the next few years, we should be in a space where we are able to identify with the cooking tariff so that when you are cooking, you're not charged the same kind of costing that would be pegged on all the other users we have the utility. So I think those are some of the things to look forward to and to see what the space gets us to, even as the different stakeholders get to drive the conversation. But I'm happy we could have this conversation. I think the biggest thing that we need to acknowledge is that e-cooking or electric cooking in Africa shouldn't be a plug kind of a thing in our homes. It should be something that actually solves the real needs that are in the society, that also helps us be part of the SDG kind of structures that are in the place, that as globally people are rallying to beat some of these things, then we are also standing to be counted, pegged on what we are doing, the different innovations that we are working on. And I think also in terms of hindrance, so what would slow us down is production. I'm really hoping that to get to a place where we can have production done locally.
Yeah.
And largely maybe going into assembly, different from how we have to do it out of the country, then have everything now brought in. So I think those are some of the hurdles that if we are able to cross, then I think we would be getting to a good place.
Yeah.
It's so nice having this discussion.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie. I'm looking forward to our next, but it's been real. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful time.